And take two. Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode number 77. My name is Gareth Evans. I'm joined by Mr. Henry, Mr. Nuance Cooper. Take two, not because we support that company, because this is the second time, because the first time messed up. How are you doing, Henry?
Literally, immediately, as soon as we started actually recording, we were rambling away, talking about shit, and then, all right, let's do it properly, and then just Discord craps out.
Discord weren't dead. And Mr. Nuance, because the internet seems to fail to capture nuance and get angry at other people on the internet because of it. And that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, in one form or another.
So, yeah, that'd be a... get yourself prepared for that. Get
a cup of tea, maybe a sandwich, settle in.
Yeah, settle in. It's going to be rough, right? Well, it's podcast 77. It's been a while. It's been a couple of weeks at least. Obviously, we had that disruption last week because of the news or the threat of everything getting just cancelled. We were just being threatened with cancellation because of some greedy music publishers.
Yeah, not due to insensitive tweets or anything like that. Not that part of cancel
in the
culture.
Real world. Yeah, just a greedy corporation essentially, which was a kind of type of thing we rally against all the time. And one of the fuckers nearly took us down. But
there you go.
We managed to avoid it. I managed to slip from their clutches, and we are back and we are stronger than ever. So a bit of an update. Obviously, that's all been resolved. However, we have hedged our bets now, and we've started to branch out. So we have a couple of other platforms which we are now posting to in tandem with YouTube. Odyssey.com is the place to be, I believe. Definitely check it out. If you don't like YouTube, if you hate what YouTube's doing to creators, if you think that YouTube needs a reasonable competitor, all my content I produce, including my music content and what we produce here on PGT, is all being posted to Odyssey. You can literally skip YouTube now and still get all the awesome content that we produce. So go to odyssey.com/@prettygoodgaming, and that's where you'll find all of these posts. I think it's about time that YouTube gets a realistic competitor, right? Just got such a monopoly.
Started in, 2005?
Oh,
15 years, and there's nothing that really comes close. People. But this could be the start of someone actually being a legitimate competitor.
It is a new platform, and there's a lot of hype about it. Also, if you're not down with Odyssey, if you're already on a platform like, I think Utreon's an up-and-comer as well. I don't think it's released properly. Our channel is still being populated on that site, but utreon.com/c/prettygoodgaming is where you'll find us there. These links will be down in the description below, and also I'll put the Spotify link as well. Someone was asking for the Spotify link to these podcasts, which do go out on Spotify, so I'll post that in the link down there too. And that's your update for since last week. So if you're keeping up with what was going on, it's all sorted, and you can just bypass YouTube if that's your preference now, which is actually awesome. I can't wait for someone like Odyssey to just smack them in the arse and take away a lot of their creators. Hopefully that's what's about to happen. Anyway, we got to talk about gaming and games and stuff. We haven't had a chance to discuss a lot of things, so we're probably going to be chewing the fat a lot of the time today. We've got a few things to discuss. However, top of the bill, Spider-Man changes his face. I
mean, when that's a major controversy, which apparently it is because the way the internet is responding, we've got to talk about it.
Yeah, and we're going to pick through the nuances of the crunch situation at CD Projekt Red over Cyberpunk 2077. After that, we're going to go to the questions that will get put to us by our community over on the Discord channel, and then we'll be looking at Triggered Fanboy comment of the week, and then the other YouTube comments, and then the bad dad joke of the week to finish off. So Henry, what's all this controversy over the new face of Spider-Man?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the beginning and end of it. Spider-Man now has a new face. So Spider-Man, the PS4 game from, 2018, is getting remastered to launch alongside the Miles Morales game for PS5. That's all well and good, even though there's been a bunch of different controversies around that to do with cloud not carrying over save files, It's not a free upgrade if you already own the game, and all this, that, and the other. I've covered it in bits and pieces throughout the past few weeks. But the newest one is that Spider-Man's face on Peter Parker, not Miles, Peter Parker Spider-Man, is now like totally different. It's not just, oh, they've up-resed him and they've done some little tweaks here and there. It's literally a different face model. They've scanned some new bloke. I mean, they're both like models. They're both attractive blokes, right? And it's just a different guy.
The problem is people getting angry over this, and it's like, why they change it? And it kind of reminds me, and it's got very many parallels with the Puddlegate incident, where it was like, you've changed our puddles, god damn it. And I'm like, well, if you look at his face, maybe his face is the same. The sun just moved.
Maybe the sun moved and he changed planet and into an alternate reality.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the new face. I don't think anyone really cares about the new face. It looks like a guy. It looks like he could be Spider-Man.
Looks like Tom Holland, right?
That's one of my biggest things. Like, he looks very much like Tom Holland, who, if you don't know, is the current live-action version of Spider-Man. It's not him. Like, they are different people.
Yeah.
They just happen to look very, very similar. Especially in this new... It's not really a trailer. It's just a scene. It's one scene. It's where Peter meets Doc Ock, and Doc Ock gets the tentacles out for the first time and shows him, and they pour a drink together.
Yeah. It's not coincidental, though, right? I'm sure they've done this on purpose to make it look like Tom
Absolutely.
Holland.
They've found a model who just looks as much like Tom Holland without being Tom Holland as possible. I mean, it makes sense for them because then it helps the brand have a bit of consistency and continuity. But like, it is weird. It's definitely an odd thing to change just kind of out of the blue. It's like recasting an actor, but the voice actor is still the same. And I think Tons brought it up on Discord. It's like, maybe they changed it to look more like the actor. The actor, Yuri Lowenthal, is 49. He doesn't look anything like that. Yeah. This one looks younger than the original one. Yeah. He arguably looks younger than Miles does. But again, like, is it really that much of a big deal? Why have they really changed it? So community director, what's his name, James Stevenson, posted on the PlayStation blog. It was a whole blog post about various changes like ray tracing and new features and new skins and shit, but then he explained why they've recast the face. So that's the quote is, in order to bring the best performances to players with our next generation Marvel's Spider-Man games, we have recast the face of Peter Parker. We loved working with John Bubniak. I'm going to go Bubniak. We loved working with John Bubniak on the original game. However, to get a better match to Peter Parker / Spider-Man actor Yuri Lowenthal's face capture, we have cast Ben Jordan to be the face model for Peter Parker on the PS5. He looks incredible in game, and Yuri's moving performances take on a new life. So basically, this new kid his face structure and the bits of it that move are more similar to the voice actor Yuri Lowenthal's than the original guy, basically. Okay. If you want to do that, cool. It really doesn't affect me at all. I mean, I'd still play the game and buy the game, whatever. But if it makes that much of a difference, I can't really imagine how. But maybe it does when we see it in motion and actually in game and whatnot. Maybe he's going to be so much more emotive and it really makes a difference. But I don't know, man.
What occurs to
recasting the face model just for that, it seems like a bit of a...
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like a wasted expense because they're going to have to pay this guy.
Yeah.
They've already got it in the tank. They have to pay the model and the animators and the artists and stuff to recreate this face. I don't know.
What a waste of money.
If you've got money to do it, like... Yeah.
What a bloody waste of money. Like, how much different is the game going to be? Almost 0% to the player. So they've obviously done this for their own reasons, which is probably to align the movie franchise with the gaming franchise to be more recognizable face between the two. But is it really worth that much money? I don't know how much expense it's going to cost them, but what a waste of bloody money.
I mean, like, I'm fine with it. Like, I really don't care. Although I guess if you're going to buy it like later, so if you're playing Spider-Man PS4 on PS4 with the original actor, and then when the PS5 comes out, you just get the Miles Morales game because you're like, oh, well, I've already got the normal one. I've already played it, and you're not giving me a free upgrade to this remaster. I'll just play it normally. But then if Peter shows up in the Miles game, you're going to be like, who the fuck's this guy? That's not Peter Parker. That's some random other bloke who's just wearing a Spidey costume. That's a bit of an immersion breaking thing if you're going like that. But even then it's not like a huge fucking issue.
Yeah.
And they could solve the issue and do, the better thing by offering people who already own the game the free upgrade to the fucking remaster.
Yeah, you think about it in terms of expensive that way. They could have saved money and offered people a better
Save
deal.
the money and put it there. Yeah.
Well, if you compare the pictures of new and old, right, of the new face and the old face, and you say, well, it's obviously worth it because the face looks better, and but it's going to look better anyway because it's the PS5 we're looking at. So we haven't got like a PS5 version of the old Peter Parker to compare to. Because that would be the better comparison. But we're looking at an old PS4 character model and a new PS5 character model. Obviously, the new PS5 one's going to look more lifelike. But how? My question is, couldn't they just have tightened up the old character model and made it look pretty decent with that? No, they had to change the face. Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine that character. Imagine that guy who did the face for the original Peter Parker, and he's getting just completely wiped out of the game. Ugh.
You're gone, mate. You're gone. But the thing is, there's no one is saying that the new guy doesn't look good. I mean, this picture that we're looking at in front of us is obviously compressed, and it's a screenshot anyway, so it's not some ultra 4K res. But he does look good. He looks great, and the rest of the game looks great. There's been a few other screenshots that they've shared, and looks awesome. It's just such a random decision. Yeah. It seems so weird, and a few people are very, kind of up in arms about it. No doubt a hashtag will start going soon, like not my Spider-Man or some bullshit like that. But I mean, everyone's still going to buy the game. The game still looks amazing. So I've got these pictures in front of me now, which are shared. Then he didn't make them, but they're shared by the community director again, James Stevenson, through their Discord. Someone found the PS5 screenshot and then found the respective part in the original game, and it just looks stunning because it's got all your ray tracing and the ambient shadows and reworked lighting, all that bullshit. It just looks incredible. It looks really, really, really pretty, but it's still just an odd choice to change this guy's face. But then also in the blog post thing, they announced one of the 3 new suits coming to the remaster, not Miles Morales to the remaster version, is the suit from Amazing Spider-Man, which again, that looks awesome. Looks better than the suit does in the movie. It all looks shiny. It all, all the reflections and ray tracing is the favorite buzzword in the world, and there's no denying that it does look good. But I mean, he's still Spider-Man. Yeah. He's just got a different face.
Yeah,
He's just got a different face.
Well,
new face, who dis?
There you have it. New face, who dis? It's
I don't know, man.
Does it even mean that much to you guys? Are you upset about it? I mean, let us know what you think. It's a storm in a teacup as far as I'm concerned. Waste of money. Just another big corporation doing something for, I don't know, unnecessary reasons, and still offering a shit deal for people who are upgrading. We'll just give it for free, and anyway.
And then, I did the video about the fact that the remaster isn't coming to PS4, and I titled it weird, and I didn't make my point clear. I mean, it's my fault. But people saying, well, why would it come to PS4? It's a remaster. But part of it isn't just that it's a remaster in terms of ray tracing, all the fancy high-tech stuff. It's stuff like this face and the additional suits and additional trophies and all that sort of stuff. That's completely exclusive to the PS5 version for no real reason. To my knowledge, anyway. I mean, you can still put the skin, a de-resed version, in the normal version. I don't really see why that's a problem, but it's because Sony seems to be making this as complicated as possible to play the game. Because you can play your normal Spider-Man PS4 copy on the disc. You can play that copy in the PS5, so you'll have your original Spider-Man, and then if you do upgrade to, not really upgrade, just buy the Spider-Man Miles Morales one, you're just going to have a totally different Peter Parker. And then there's a question, if Peter Parker is in that game is available on PS4, so is this Peter, if he is in that game, are we going to see the new Peter or the old Peter? They've made it more difficult for themselves, and it's such an inconsequential thing.
It is very complicated, and who knows what they're up to and why they're doing it. That's just how it is. I'm talking about a complicated situation. Cyberpunk crunch culture. Oh my God, no crunch. CD Projekt Red suck. They're making their people work overtime. They're paying them for it, and they're giving them 10% of the profits of the company, annual profits. How dare they? I'm outraged on behalf of other people that I will never meet, I'm totally offended, and you should all be cancelled. Is the sentiment flowing around the internet? That's not me talking. That's just some people. Okay, let's try and pick the bones out of this, because you covered it yesterday at the time of recording, and people fall on both sides. The majority of the huge groundswell of people are saying it's not a big deal. It's just an extra paid day's work, which they're mandating, but they're making it mandatory. So I've picked out a few of the comments in our comments section just to try and just to illustrate both sides of this argument, and then we can maybe pick out some of the nuances and then compare this, just to make some sense of it, basically. So the first guy, Good Boy Wolf, he says, honestly, I'm a bit saddened at the comments normalizing 6-day work weeks and saying there's nothing wrong with it. I get that's because many of you currently live that, but that doesn't mean it's okay. Companies and billionaires have duped everyone into believing that their work should be the definition of their lives. I mean, we're literally talking about products that are designed for people to have fun with. Reasonable argument there. I don't see any reason to jump down his throat. That's a valid point of view. Next guy, the Grace 20. The devs are going to get 10% according to Adam. So here, Adam Kaczynski is the CEO, one of the CEOs. So here it is. So he's broken down all the figures, and he's looked at how much profit they made in 2019. So the 2019 profit and what 10% of that means for every single individual. I'm not going to read it all out, but it's somewhere in the region of 3,500 Great British pounds, which is probably just over $4,000 if you're that way inclined. And then between that and over 5,000 Great British pounds, between between just over 4 and just over $6,000 each that they made last year, and they're probably, given the fact that Cyberpunk is releasing this year, it might even be more than that this year. So if you take that into consideration, the better that this game does, the more money that each individual human being working at CD Projekt Red gets in their pocket, which I think is phenomenal. I think that this is an amazing deal to have a huge corporation say, well, yeah, you guys are making all this these products for us, which we sell and make loads of money for, but you can have a huge slice of that, and we're just going to give that to you as a bonus every single year, no matter what. That, I think, is amazing. All companies should be talking about mandating stuff. All companies should be made to do that, I think. If they're making a huge loads of profit, I think that's a great deal. And so that just puts it in the terms, they have to work an extra day a week until the launch of this game, but they're all benefiting not only in the overtime that they're getting, the money that they're getting to do the hours, but also in the profits, share of the profits from when the game does really well, which we assume it's going to. Yeah.
It's going to sell millions.
So the next comment from Dio. A lot of people share this view, but just aren't as brave as Dio to say it.
Oh, yeah.
He says...
There's totally a lot of people who think this.
He says, I don't care if they nail their feet to the floor, as long as it's not delayed again. Yes, I'm not selfish. I mean, a lot of people don't give a flying hoot about other people's working conditions or whether they're made to crunch or not. And this guy illustrates it pretty well. So, I mean, I don't agree with it personally, but he just wants his game, damn it. And so next up, Ivan Isakovic says, 6 days a week with normal hours is hardly a crunch, wouldn't you agree? It's pretty normal in many industries. It makes me wonder if people cry out just in case, so it doesn't get worse, considered a bad history with crunch. So this is a good, valid point. Crunch is awful, right? When we say crunch, though, we do associate it with lots of horrible work conditions, 80-hour work weeks, being chained to your desk, being made to soil yourself. All these stories that we've heard in the media about crunch. Now, to call this crunch, I think, is a bit of a stretch. I would call it mandatory overtime. That is all it is, right? It is. I mean, yes, I might be minimizing it and undervaluing it or whatever it is, and Jason Schreier would totally disagree with me on this. But it's all it is mandatory overtime, mandatory paid overtime. It's not crunch in the same way that we associate crunch in our minds. And to say that crunch, this is just my opinion, by the way, and you're quite welcome to disagree with me in the comments. Be civil about it, though. I just don't call. I wouldn't call this crunch. I would never call this crunch. I've been made to do mandatory overtime in the past when I worked in the factory. We had this deadline to do. The boss came and said, "Listen, this is really important for the company. It needs to go out on time. We're going to pay you time and a half, but we need you to work at the extra few hours or whatever it was." And to put it into context too, this is only 6 extra shifts for them. This is the last 6 weeks leading up to the release of the game. So it's only 6 extra shifts. It's mandatory. It's for the good of the company. It's for the good of them. I wouldn't call it crunch in the same way that a lot of people say or define crunch. That's for sure.
See, that's the whole thing, and my opinion was a little bit in the video, but I didn't really make it very clear, and part of that's my mistake, because we've talked about it so many fucking times. Every time there's someone accused of it, like a Rockstar or Naughty Dog, we touch on it, and because of that, I'm like, well, I'm treading old ground, but of course, again, this is why it's my mistake. Not everyone will have seen every video we do on the topic, so I suppose I should reiterate every single time, but that's a pain in the ass. But this is why it's a tricky, nuanced issue, because 6 days a working week, especially for a limited time, as you say, it's coming out in just a few weeks. It's like 7 Saturdays or something like that. I can't remember. That's really not that bad. Many people have done much, much worse, including me. Like, I've done 16 days straight before, and it's fucking horrible. But I mean, job has to be done, so you do it. But there's a lot of buts in this line of stuff. But that's a whataboutism. So just because you do it doesn't mean that it's not bad. Like, oh, I work 7 days a week for months at a time. Don't hear me complaining. Yeah, but that doesn't make it good. Assuming that this is really bad, because that's
true.
Again, the next but why isn't this such a conversation in other industries? Crunch, to the same extent that it's supposedly bad in gaming, is just as bad in most other industries, really, especially like film and animation. Like the studio who did the Sonic the Hedgehog game, Sonic the Hedgehog movie, once they had to redesign it, they crunched like hell to get it fixed, and everyone celebrated that movie. It's like, oh, they're listening to the fans, and I'm like, well, really, what they did was crunch the living shit out of the staff who did it in the first place.
It's not only in the creative industries too. You think about construction, you think about medical, medical in hospitals, the doctors, the
surgeons and lawyers.
So
and stuff.
many people who are, I guess, not made to, but who have to work extra above and beyond. So there isn't. This isn't something that's separate from the rest of the working world. Like it's very common. Whether that's right or wrong, I mean, it's not for me to judge. But this, we are comparing here just to see how bad this situation is. Is it that bad? I'm not here making judgments. I'm just showing you a comparison.
And I'm certain that a lot of the comments are based on, I mean, they always are with any video, but it's because the way I titled that part of it and the thumbnail, and I don't think either of those things is incorrect. The title was Cyberpunk devs expected to work 6 days a week. That's a categorical fact. That is what they're expected to do. Then on the thumbnail, it was Cyberpunk crunch gets worse, which is also a fact, because their crunch, even if it's not bad, even if it's like 1 out of 10 bad, so really it's not that bad, it's now going to 2 out of 10 bad, which still isn't that bad if you're rating it like that, but it is getting worse. They've got to do the same amount of grinding every day for an extra day. That is worse. Maybe it's still not, getting cancer in your balls bad, but it's still worse than it was before. But my kind of problem with it is it's the promise side of it, where they said we're not going to do what they called it, obligatory crunch policy. We're not going to have an obligatory crunch policy or something like that. But now they're going back on that.
Yeah, I mean,
and again, things change. Things change all the time. But it's just an issue that, I mean, could have been resolved. And I don't know. This is part of the reason it's so tricky, because a lot of people are like, just delay the game. There's a lot more to it than just hitting a release date. They need to hit it before Christmas to boost sales. And it's Cyberpunk. It's still going to sell amazing anyway, but it's going to sell so much more because it's Christmas. There's all sorts of accountancy things. I'm not saying I agree with any of this, but this is just the way it works. Accountancy things with like tax, fiscal quarters and all that sort of stuff. Then there's the fact that delays don't actually alleviate crunch; they just keep it going.
Well,
that's what largely the reports are.
Yeah, this is the problem with this reporting.
But again, we don't know how bad it is.
This is again with this reporting. They're stating these things like the categorical facts. How do we know that that's actually true? Like, where is the evidence of that? I mean, I'm of the mind that I'm not just going to accept what someone says as an opinion. I'm going to investigate it and make my own mind up about something like that, which is, it doesn't alleviate crunch, it just stretches it over 6 weeks. Yeah, that's an argument that you can make, but can you substantiate that? Can you back that up? If you can't, then I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to use that in my evaluation of whether this is right or wrong. And that's the way I approach it. And talking about what they promised, like Adam Badowski or something,
Badowski's the studio head.
The studio head. He said that they were left with no alternative, right? They've delayed it twice. It was due out in the beginning of the year. The other alternative was to delay it again, which I'm sure that implies that he's come up against a brick wall against that. Like there's no option of doing that. The other option is nobody crunches and the game goes out in a buggy, riddled mess. Which again nobody wants because the reputation of the company, which is really high at the moment, despite all this, that will be affected. The reputation of the game, the potential impact of the game, how many units it sells, the general consensus and the reception of the game will be highly impacted by all that nonsense. So the only viable alternative, I don't know, obviously you can't get other people in to work on it at this late stage. There's only 6 weeks left. So they've had to make this mandatory. So he said in his own terms, this is the only option left available. So I don't know what that means. However, some people are pointing out that they didn't break their promise because Adam Kaczynski said in an investor call back in January that, and to quote him, quote, to some degree, yes, to be honest, talking about specifically overtime, crunching, we try to limit crunch as much as possible, but it is the final stage. We try to be reasonable in this regard, but yes, unfortunately. So, they never said there were going to be no crunch. What they did say was there wouldn't be. No,
they said it wouldn't be obligatory. Yeah, that's the thing. And I feel like there's so many people who are like such fanboys for CDPR and everything to keep their glowing reputation, because their reputation is they are the most adorned and beloved game company in gaming, really. Like, I don't think there's many people who dispute that generally the public perception is so high. There's people who are so devout to that they will accept anything they do, but then there's the total opposite, who shit on them as soon as they do anything wrong because they've got such a reputation and they think they're liars, they think they're all cheats, and they've lied to get to the top of being like fan favorites and all that shit. So you can, the reason we were talking about nuance earlier, this is why it's such a tricky thing, because no one gets it. Like, no one can say, there's both good things and bad things about it. This is what I literally said in the video. I'm hesitant. I think my phone just buzzed. I'm hesitant to come down on either side until I have more information. Mm-hmm. Being made to work an extra day, that sucks. I don't like that. But it's a question of how bad it is. Again, if it's 1 out of 10 bad, that's still a little bit bad. Even if it's just a tiny bit, it's still a little bit. Especially if like you've got plans for these weekends, like weddings or funerals or like babies and all that sort of stuff that you can't really change, right? And like life gets in the way. That sucks. Then it's a question of how bad does it suck? Is it that sucks? Let's just get on with it. Yeah, it's what it is. Whatever, Or that really fucking sucks. This could actually destroy part of my life, not my work life, my actual life. And again, this is why I'm hesitant to come down on either side, because we just don't have enough. We don't have enough information, because 1 day extra a week could be totally fine, but if they're expected to do the same amount of work, I think that was part of the Adam Badowski's thing. We're talking about 48 hour weeks is the legal limit in Poland. So yeah, and I think they do 8 hours for 5 days now. So the extra day is going to be maximum 8 hours. So they're only ever going to work 48 hour weeks, which really isn't that bad. But then there's all the stuff of, what about the work that people do unpaid? Because in every job, you take work home with you and you're doing stuff when you're off the clock. And again, maybe this is why it's such a nuanced issue, because is that the company's fault or is it the person's fault for choosing to do that? And this is what we were talking about with The Last of Us. A lot of people, they hire perfectionists. They hire people who will go the extra mile. And I'm like, well, that's your choice. You're choosing to work really, really hard to have grains of rice or whatever it was fall out of the bag in Uncharted 4. No one gives a shit about that detail. No one gives a shit. But someone wanted to. Someone did it. Maybe they were crunched, but with the, executives, breathing on his shoulder and having a go at him. Or maybe he just wanted to work really hard and be like, see that? I did that. It was awesome. So we don't know. I'm not coming down on either side of this, and I am gonna sit firmly on the fence. It's gonna be an uncomfortable fence. Yeah. It's a white picket fence. Yeah. It's gonna be spiky, but I'm gonna sit on it. I don't have enough information.
I told you what I think. I think it's a storm in a teacup again. That's 2 in a row now. There's 2 for 2 on this podcast. Another storm in a teacup. Forced mandatory overtime, which is what this is, as defined. It's an extra working day that they're having to do. That isn't unusual. That isn't something that I haven't done. I've done that. A lot of people have, according to our comments.
Yep.
And I don't think the conditions that they're working under, from my experience, there's a lot of people throwing out, oh, well, we don't know what the crunch is like apart from this. We don't know if they've been crunching for 18 months already. We don't know if they've been crunching on the weekends, and we've got no information. That's unsubstantiated. Again, like, you could use that as an argument, but unless you come and say, well, this guy says he's done it, these people said they've done it, that holds no sway in my evaluation. So the point is, I think this is fine. I don't think it's a big deal. And then when you add to that this company is just slicing off a huge wedge of their profits and giving that back to the people who helped make them create those profits, I think that's another thumbs up for me for CD Projekt Red. I don't care. I've never liked to see, and this is what's crazy, right? And I'm going to leave it on this point. I've never liked a CD Projekt Red game. I don't like The Witcher 3. I didn't like Gwent. I'm expecting some good stuff from Cyberpunk because of what I've seen of it, and I like the setting. I tried 3 times to like The Witcher 3. I'm not saying this because I love their games or I'm totally just backing them up for other reasons. I like this company because of the way that they operate, and learning that they give 10% of the profits over to the company is another reason for me to like them. I may be biased. That's fine, but that's how I sit on it. And come at me, bros.
Yeah, we just need more words for this shit, because at one end of the scale there is a couple of extra hours a week to get a job done, and then there's I think it was like Konami or someone. The stories of having to wear nappies, go home at for you Americans, a nappy is a diaper, a soilable underwear, let's call them. And then you go home at midnight, sleep for like 4 hours, and come back into the office straight away again. That's totally different to something like this, at least on what the current the facts of the matter are, which we don't really know, because no employee seems to there's a bug that no employee has come out and said that, like, this is a huge problem as the expose. It's the CDPR management production team sent around an email. That's what it is, and then someone shared that. It's not like the Naughty Dog one where a bunch of members of staff got together and then spoke to Big Dog Jason Schreier, who's the Crunch Crusader as always.
He is, isn't he?
Or like
it's on a jihad, isn't he?
Rockstar. They had the wives of some of the dev team wrote an open letter saying, like, stop crunching, give our husbands back. But then they came out and were like, well, actually no, it's like 4 people on the team with a writing team, and we're choosing to. It's just such a wide issue. This is what I mean. From this end of the scale to this end of the scale, all of that is classed as crunch. But then we need new words to define it better.
And I think it's convenient for people who are reporting on it, because Jason Schreier knows he's going to get a lot of attention from it. And this is the problem with news today, is that the facts don't actually matter when it comes to reporting.
Exactly, and that's the thing.
It's about the outrage. It's about the exposure. That's all that matters these days. It's about what you can get away with saying, or how far from the truth you can get away with representing the situation without still kind of being the truth. So is it all the truth that Jason Schreier is reporting? I doubt it. And
the thing is that's the fault of both the media and journalist side, myself included in that with my thumbnail and title and everything, and the reader, because the reader is there's so many people who just read the title and headline and spout that as fact in every kind of story, not just video games. And it's because it works. Like, perhaps
it's because people are stupid. People don't have the ability to capture and assess the nuances. This is the problem, right? Which
is what I try to do, and then I come down. I'm like, well, I don't fall either side, and then people fucking everyone gets upset.
Stupid, not you people, but just people. The people are just too stupid.
Not you people. That guy behind you, he's stupid. You're fine.
That motherfucker right there is stupid. You're fine. But there you go. That's where we'll leave it. And let us know what you think, as always, down in the comments. Do you agree with this? Don't you agree with this? It's fine to not agree with us, but just leave us your reasons why without getting personal about it, because we're all adults here. And, you don't have to resort to calling names or being personal about it, because...
So what have we got? We got Spider-Man's face. Is it the worst thing in the world? Is Spider-Man's face worse than Cyberpunk perceived crunch or whatever that is? Let us know.
Yeah.
Is the new face worse than Cyberpunk's 1 day extra overtime, paid overtime with a little bit of some extra seasoning on top with that 10%?
Little summit. There you go. So let's jump into the next part, which is... I'm basically just going to thank a whole bunch of people for supporting us recently. Since the last podcast, we've had a whole influx of new supporters on Patreon, which I'd like to say a personal thank to all of you. Because of the situation going down last week, we had a number of people join us, as well as before that too. So I'm going to read everyone's name out. So Ryan Purgent, $1, thank you very much, sir. Thanks for your support. Tyrone Mixon, pledged $1 as well. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Edwin, just straight up Edwin, $5. Thank you very much. DJ Guarino, $1. Thanks for your pledge. Nick Brown, $2. Thanks, Mr. Brown. Danilo Elias Castro, $5 pledge. Thank you very much, sir. Balthazar Gent, $5. Cha-ching. Thanks very much, dude.
There's some cracking names in here.
Connor Mercer, $1. Thanks very much, Mr. Mercer. Marcus with a $1 pledge. You get a salute too. Bean 6, that's B, 3 E's N 6, or Ben 66. I don't know how you want to say that, but thank you, $1. Ben Lewis Borner, $10, increased to $20. He was already a $10 pledger, but he's increased it to $20. So thanks very much, sir. Tom Taylor, $1.50. Thank you very much, sir. Ben Brown, $5, increased to $10. So thanks very much for that increase in pledge. Almost there now. Xavier Alonso Bertolin, a $1 pledge. Thank you very much, sir. And then SoraCerberus, who always seems to be up in his pledge. He's upped it from $25 to $50. Oh my God. Huge thanks to Mr. SoraCerberus for that very generous contribution, and everybody who's contributed to the well-being of this channel, essentially. Without you guys supporting us, like I say, every week, we wouldn't be able to exist. So if you are interested in supporting us on Patreon and getting a shout out on the podcast, it's well worth the $1. Head over to the description, patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. And for your service, for your generosity, you will get access to the Patreon-only part of the Discord, and also you'll be able to ask us questions in the podcast, and you get early access to this podcast. I mean, it's a value for money deal. Like, why wouldn't you want to do it? And on that note, let's jump into some of the questions put to us by our community this week.
Right, the first one is, as usual, the quiz from Metal Shark, and this is probably a few weeks old now, so I think we're probably a bit rusty in our
I need to try and find this. Where is it?
Right. From the 9th, which is a long time ago.
Is it one for me, one for you?
It's a head-to-head. So I'll start reading it.
All right.
Another head-to-head this week after your close finish last podcast, whenever the hell that was. It was like 3 weeks ago. It's also the last of the higher or lower series, as it's time for a change with possibly another assist from Humvg 1994. Here we'll be looking at the map sizes of different games. To begin with, we'll use Denbighshire as a reference point at 844 kilometers squared, so square kilometers. So, Is Just Cause 2 and 4, as it's the same size, larger or smaller than Denbighshire? So is Just Cause 2 larger or smaller than 844 square kilometers?
Well, 844 square kilometers is the Denbighshire is where I live, so I should know, be familiar with that at the very least. I would say that Just Cause is bigger though, because this is we're talking about Just Cause 4 as well. Talking about a playground where they've got planes, got vehicles, and all sorts of stuff. This isn't the biggest county. I was looking at it yesterday because we're doing local lockdowns again. It's not the biggest county. I mean, I've got one village over that way, and then there's the barrier. I'm not allowed over that line from this afternoon. And then there's like a couple of villages that way is the barrier that way. So I've literally got a very narrow corridor of where I can travel. I've got one. There's 4 villages across is Denbighshire. I'm just just to illustrate how big that is. It's not that big. So I'd say Just Cause is larger than Denbighshire.
I mean, I was going to say the same, but I feel like we shouldn't really go for the same. But I mean, I played one of the Just Causes properly. I played loads of 2, but I didn't ever finish it. And I finished 3. Fuck it. I'm going to say it's bigger. It's got to be bigger. It's huge. I'm going bigger.
And
it is larger at 1,030 square kilometers, and that's pretty hefty. Well, I suppose Just Cause is known for having like massive maps.
Yeah.
Okay, next up.
So let me read this one because you're going to answer first.
Okay.
So number 2, is Assassin's Creed Odyssey larger or smaller than Just Cause 2/4? Assassin's Creed Odyssey, we're talking.
That's the Greek one, right? Well, Odyssey is massive and it's full of shit, so it feels really big, even if it's not bigger. It's full of just crap. But is it bigger? I feel like Odyssey doesn't necessarily come up in the same way as Just Cause does, as being like record-holding giant maps. But maybe it is, because it is really big, and I feel like it's bigger than 1,000 square kilometers. So yeah, I'll say Assassin's Creed is bigger than Just Cause.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I don't know. 1,000 kilometers is pretty damn big.
Because it's got loads of like water in it as well. Just Cause does as well. I mean, traveling on the high seas is a big part of it.
Ultimately, I'm guessing, and there is a lot of water. I've never played the game, but there's a lot of water in the game. From what I know, I would have to say bigger, larger too.
Let's have a look. It's
wow.
Jesus Christ! It's smaller at 256 square kilometers.
Surprise in our voices. It's smaller than Denbighshire. The map's smaller than Denbighshire. What's the point of even making a game?
Make Assassin's Creed Denby. So we fuck all there.
There's a castle in Denby. There's more than one. There's 2 castles in Denbighshire, I'll have you know.
And a fuck ton of sheep. Right, the next one.
Too many Englishmen.
Is Burnout. They are. I'm not there. I'm in my own little town, which is still not in local lockdown. Like everywhere around it has been, right. But Chester hasn't yet. Although it's definitely going to happen anytime now. Okay, is Burnout Paradise larger or smaller than Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Burnout Paradise.
Yeah, it's a driving game. I would say it would have to. It's on an island as well, I think, because it's a paradise setting. I would just have to say bigger because you drive very fast, and it would be. You wouldn't have many opportunities to drive very fast if the map was small. So I'm going to say larger. If it's Denbighshire, my God. If it's like, apparently Assassin's Creed Odyssey is like just under a third the size of Denbighshire. That can't be right. We need to fact check that, by the way. I would say it has to be bigger. Forget the
presidential debate. This is where you need your fact check.
I would say it has to be bigger.
Well, just for a bit of something different, I'll go smaller because we went for the same for the first 2, and this normally backfires when I do it. But I'm going Burnout Paradise smaller than AC Odyssey. No, it's larger.
It's larger
at 518 square kilometers. Well, so that's 2 for you and 3 for you and 1 for me.
Yeah, 100% for me. So is it me to read? Is The Witcher 3 including expansions, which is a lot of content, larger or smaller than Burnout Paradise? This is going to be a difficult one.
It's got to be bigger, right? The Witcher, the main game, The Witcher 3, it's a bunch of different environments, because there's what's the first one? White Orchard, then Velen and Novigrad are in the same map, then Skellige, and I think that's it. So that's 3, and they're already pretty massive. Then there's Blood and Wine and Hearts of Stone, which I haven't played, but they're very expansive in their own play spaces, I think. So it's got to be bigger in total for the whole lot.
518.
I don't think in just a flat space it is, but if you stack them all together, all of their total numbers, I think it's got to be it.
I don't know what to say now. I'm going to go smaller. I'm going to go smaller because I don't know. I just feel like it's just not as big as Burnout Paradise. I don't know why. I've got no grounds rationale for that at all. So I'm going to say smaller. It is smaller. Oh my goodness! It's only 135 kilometers. How is Denbighshire so big? I'm going to fact check this right now. Denbighshire is like 5 times bigger than The Witcher. Then
how's The Witcher so small? Like, it seems massive. Well, you're on what, 4 out of 4, and I'm on 2.
844 kilometers squared. You know what? I'm stupid to even question Metal Shark's facts. That guy knows everything. How dare I question that guy?
I mean, it was only one Google search away, and I'm sure he did about as much work as you just have.
To be fair, man, he's absolutely right. Dembishire's bigger than I thought it was, but so there you go. But that does mean I've got 4 in a row, and you're on 2. So there's that.
Pathetic.
Is
it me now? Is Breath of the Wild larger or smaller than The Witcher 3, including expansions? So is it larger or smaller than 135 km?
It feels a lot bloody larger because it takes so long to get around. So I'm just going to say larger.
I can't get out of my head because I'm convinced The Witcher 3 is really big, but I don't believe that it's 135. So the Breath of the Wild has to be bigger than 135.
It's not. It's smaller. It's almost half the size at 72 kilometers square. Breath of the Wild is small. Link just can't run. It's just fast. That's this problem. He's a slow motherfucker.
Fucking little elf boy. Is you on this one?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Number 6. I've got 4. Henry's got 2 still. Is Red Dead Redemption larger or smaller than Breath of the Wild? The original Red Dead Redemption.
I'm going to say Red Dead is smaller. Red Dead's Breath of the Wild's map is more round, I think, and Red Dead's is more like it's more like a line. It's more linear. But I've no real reason. I'm just thinking up useless like pseudo facts.
So what's your final answer?
I'm gonna go Red Dead is smaller than Breath of the Wild.
And apologies for a little disruption there. Henry's Discord is going crazy. So the question was, is Red Dead Redemption larger or smaller than Breath of the Wild? Your answer was smaller, correct?
I can't fucking remember. Let's just say yes, probably.
Yeah, it was smaller. I'm going to say smaller too. And the answer is smaller at 40 kilometers squared.
I wish I could be more excited, but I'm so frustrated by Discord shit in the bed.
We just edited out 20 minutes of us faffing around, so I'm sure you're more excited than us. Okay, next question. I can't even remember the score now. I think I'm on 5, you're on 3. And question 7, you're to read.
All right, just let me find where the bloody thing is. It's vanished. Okay, is Far Cry 3 larger or smaller than Red Dead Redemption? Now, I have played Far Cry 3, but I can't remember.
Far Cry 3...
I don't believe it's bigger.
For me to answer, let me answer first. Far Cry 3 is usually are usually bigger, right? And Red Dead Redemption is 40 kilometers, the smallest one. Yeah, I can't see it being smaller, so I'm going to say larger.
I mean, yeah, Red Dead. I remember it feeling bigger, but that might just be because I played so much of that game. Like I played Far Cry, finished it, but then I didn't really go back to it. But I played Red Dead Redemption over and over and over again, so it can't be smaller than 40. It can't be. So Far Cry 3 is bigger.
Yeah. It is bigger at 46 kilometers squared. So I'm on 6, you're on 4. Question 8, and me to read. Is Grand Theft Auto 5 larger or smaller than Far Cry 3?
GTA 5's got to be bigger. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's vast.
I say that too. Let's rush this through. Two biggers here, and it is larger at 130 kilometers squared. Not as big as Denbighshire, though, is it?
Next up is Assassin's Creed Black Flag larger or smaller than GTA 5? Again, Black Flag, a lot of water.
Yeah, Black Flag. I play that game, but I haven't gotten to like unlock the majority of the map. I don't know. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say smaller than 130.
Oh yeah, I think it's smaller because it's just not GTA 5, is it? GTA 5 is huge. Yeah. Everyone knows that.
The answer is larger at 235 kilometers.
Blimey.
So there you have it. I've scored 7, you scored 5, and there's one left to go. Is World of Warcraft at present larger or smaller than Assassin's Creed Black Flag?
I honestly have no idea. I don't know how big the World of Warcraft world is, but surely, because it's an MMO, it's pretty big. I mean, I don't
is it,
but
is it bigger
Black
than
Flag's
235?
quite big. Like 235 is huge. How big was Just Cause? Because that was Just Cause was obscenely big.
It's 1,000 kilometers.
Fuck it. Black Flag's bigger. Why not? What have I got to lose? I'm already losing.
So your answer is smaller. World of Warcraft is smaller.
Yeah, World of Warcraft is smaller than Black Flag.
I would say so too, because it's an MMO. You got to walk around everywhere. I'm not very familiar. I take that back. I don't know whether you can fly in walk. Obviously, maybe you can fly in World of Warcraft. I don't know. I'm going to say smaller anyway. The answer is smaller at 207 kilometers. So there you go, Henry. You've had your arse handed to you today. I've scored 8. You've scored 6. Oh, did I get 9? I don't know. It doesn't really matter because I won either way. I mean, so there you have it.
It could have been worse. I got a couple back towards the end.
It's
me going against the grain because I'm like, well, we've already picked this. Let's just go the other way because I have no other reason to. But it spices it up. It makes it more entertaining. I'm here for the banter. Here for the entertainment value.
You keep telling yourself that as long as it makes yourself feel better for losing today.
That's how I sleep.
And thanks, Mr. Metal Shark, as always, for being MVP and coming up with these awesome quizzes every single week.
No matter whether I win or Gaz wins, Metal Shark always wins.
Yeah, exactly. And we always.
I'm certain I've already said that before.
And
okay.
Next,
we've got an actual question now from Tons. So, guys, we all know about now when the new consoles are coming and hopefully the price. Looking at the launch, Looking at the launch lineup, are either of you compelled to buy a new console on day one? Now, remember, this is kind of an older question, and I can't remember if we had found out the prices or anything by now. But either way,
I think the last podcast
now. See, this is where it's tricky because I've had a few mates message me being like, "Oh, are you getting anything because of what you do?" And I'm like, honestly, that's the only reason I would consider it because of the channel. If I wasn't doing this, I'd be like, fuck no. Why would I need to? Because everything on PS5 at launch, apart from like Demon's Souls, which I don't really care about, and Ratchet and Clank, which I don't really care about, is also coming to PS4. Everything on Xbox is also going to Xbox One, so I'm covered, and PC for the most part anyway. They've got no fucking exclusives to launch with on day one because Halo got pushed. Gears Tactics, I'm really excited for, but that's coming to Xbox One. So there's nothing on day one that inspires me at all. The only dilemma is that for content, like for videos and to be on top of the conversation, that's the only reason I'd consider it. But I'm still up in the air. They're still really expensive, and people are shit in the bed with their pre-orders. So who knows if you'll even get one.
When it comes to what Tons ask, which is looking at the launch lineup, are you compelled to buy a new console? Absolutely not.
No.
I don't think there's anything there that compels me to buy a new console over just using my PC or you accessing the games on Xbox via Game Pass anyway.
Yep.
And the PS5 launch lineup just isn't that juicy. So absolutely not is the answer. Thanks for the question, Tons. The next question, I've lost my screen here too. So next one is from Metal Shark, and he says, do you see PlayStation's clumsy pre-order strategy, limited availability, and releasing many PS5 titles on PS4 has given Xbox a boost this generation? It would appear to me to be more enticing for those who went for PS4 last generation to jump in, even on a monthly rental/purchase plan with Game Pass, until it's worth grabbing a PS5, but that might be a narrow view. I mean, I don't think the clumsy pre-order strategy is going to sway that many people not to buy a PlayStation. I think if you're a PlayStation fan, you want a PlayStation, you're not going to say, oh, I can't get older one, I'm not going to get one. I think generally you'll just wait it out and get one.
The whole pre-order thing, loads of people were covering it. It was a bit of a news thing, but I just didn't give a shit. That's why I didn't do a video.
You weren't trying to pre-order though, were you?
But that's what I mean. Like it's the same thing every time.
Yeah.
They do an announced release date, and the pre-orders go berserk. None of this is new. Yeah, Sony said some bollocks about we'll give you plenty of notice, and then they totally didn't. I'm like, yeah, all right, but that's not. I have no interest in any of it. But again, that's just me. Maybe some people are like, oh, it's too much of a ball ache to pre-order a PS5. I'll just go for whatever the other one is, and in this case, it will presumably for most people be the Xbox Series X. You're right though. If you don't think the PS5 is offering you anything, just get an Xbox and get Game Pass and play all those games. Well, just because everyone should have Game Pass, it's amazing. We got criticised for being too on the side of Sony last podcast, whenever it was, and I'm like, maybe we were, but I think it's funny because in that very video, I was wearing a Xbox branded hat. It was a Gears of War hat. I'm wearing a Gears of War T-shirt today. I don't know if you can really see. But I'm not an Xbox fan. I'm now a Game Pass fan. I'll be a Game Pass fanboy. That's the hill I'll die on.
There you go. Thanks for the question, Metal Shark. Moving on to Metalviking, who's next?
Okay, this is kind of a follow-up to a question from ages ago. So it's been a while since I've been active in the podcast stuff, but I did see the answer to my previous question talking about another Lord of the Rings game with minor characters in major plot points, etc. from podcast 72. Bloody hell, that must have been a long-ass time ago. In response, Henry stated it wouldn't make sense for there to be a new character that is in certain parts, like the example was Moria. And to that I agree. I was more talking about characters in major battles such as Helm's Deep and Minas Tirith and the battle in Gondor that happens at the end of the second movie and the beginning of the third movie. The Eomer storyline is very interesting though. I suppose this isn't much of a question, it's more of just a kind of a follow-up comment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lord of the Rings games, there should be more of them given how amazing Lord of the Rings is. Well, there's not, and I would totally play the hell out of an Eomer solo game, or even just something about a soldier, just a generic grunt in the Gondorian army watching everything fall apart as they're under siege. I think could be cool, but it's a popular IP, so that's always tricky, and we've seen how wrong it can go so many times. So I think a lot of people are like, fuck that, I'm not going near it. There's more of the question. I've literally just scrolled past it. I thought that was the end of the question. Right, here's the actual question. Do forgive me. Right, it's because my computer's really having a hard time here. The actual question: Do you guys think maybe having like a B team fellowship type group would be a good subplot? Maybe a group split up. And some enlisted in the Gondorian army and others in the Rohirrim armies. Brothers, maybe? I mean, it'd be a kind of a convenient thing, but it will be quite fun. Have perspectives of the foot soldiers and how they cope with the impending doom that surrounds them in the world. So they're so desperately trying to save. And since at the end the Rohirrim come to Minas Tirith, they would reunite after the battle and take on what's left of Sauron's army at the Black Gate together as one last battle. Again, I'm probably rambling and possibly full of shit, but what do you guys think? I mean, that's basically what I was just touching on about just a generic grunt. That could be really cool. One in Gondor and one in Rohan could be really interesting. But I feel like I've rambled on about this question already.
Yeah, it's just not my wheelhouse, this. So, I appreciate you you approaching it and taking the ramble for the team. Next up, Loachgar. Bury the Light, the Virgil battle theme. Good DMC5 track, or the best DMC5 track. Henry, that's you again, because Devil May Cry
you're
is
such a huge Devil May Cry fan. Honestly, having Virgil come in for DMC5, yeah, it's a special edition, you got to pay for him again, like as an extra thing, but I'm fucking well up for it. His song's cool. It's not the best one. The best one is definitely Devil Trigger, which is Nero's song, and it's really cheesy and really kind of like anime Japanesey, but it's so catchy. It's always in my head, and that's all you need from a good song, as long as it's catchy and not too annoying. There's a fine line, and I think Devil Trigger's it. Bury the Light is cool, though. It's cool, but it's not as good. Okay,
All right, thanks for the question, Loachgar.
final question, which is certainly something, from Angry Hobbit 0. Check this out, and then there's a link to an article about an unlockable chrome penis called Mr. Stud in Cyberpunk 2077. But the topic, old question: hood or no hood? Now, this is a topic I'm certain that we've touched on before, and I just don't give a shit. If there's an unlockable chrome penis, I'll maybe put it on, but you can't fucking see your character anyway, so as if any of it matters.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it's on at default, if it's circumcised or uncircumcised, are we going to get demonetized for saying such a word because it's a little bit naughty? Like whatever the default is, I don't give a shit. Or maybe I'll go nothing. I'll go nothing because you can be something else. A
non-sexual person.
I mean, whatever floats your boat in the cyberpunk world.
Yeah, so this article just says, according to a recent report by The Gamer, Cyberpunk has various genital augmentations that can be purchased by players, and that's completely separate to the genital customization options that you get. So that's interesting. I'm not going to jump into
this is why they're crunching. They're crunching to put dicks in your video game.
Not just dicks, but with and without the foreskin, right? They need to do both.
I mean,
like you need to sit there on a Saturday, like animating a foreskin, and then the next Saturday you just animate
friend's baby shower. You can't go to a funeral because you've got to stay in and you've got to work overtime and make a metal penis called Mr. Stud.
Come home after a long day's work because you've been animating a foreskin.
Day's work, eh? I mean. It'll be if it's chromed for her pleasure, then maybe I can get behind it.
There you go. Thanks for the question and the Mr. Angry Hobbit and everyone else who left the questions this week. It's time to move on to the triggered fanboy comment of the week. We were going to trigger somebody, obviously, talking about the CD Projekt Red situation, and we got one. You got one, Henry. You got one. You caught one.
Yeah,
and this one is Jolly Cooperation, and he says jolly. He's not cooperating on anything either. He says, "Wow, you're a piece of shit for saying all that about CDPR. They weren't going to crunch, but they need to crunch. That's business." Saying that they broke that promise and now claiming that they may break others is such an asshole move. Asshole move.
Thank you.
Not everything in business goes smoothly and according to plan. At least with the crunch, they are being paid. That's the type of negativity that sparks a wildfire in the community and makes people doubt the company. Why shouldn't we doubt the company?
See, it goes into deep fanboying right at the end. He starts off strong with "you're a piece of shit." I love that jolly good, jolly corporation, and then ends with fanboying. And I'm like, somewhere in the middle, there is a point that you're almost shaping in like a potter and making a nice bit of pottery or something. That's business saying they broke their promise and now claiming they may break others. I didn't claim it. I said it raises the question because it does. Because especially because they're such a renowned, popular company, and the microtransactions thing is a hot topic issue. I mean, it wasn't an overt reference to that, but that was what I was thinking because they said no microtransactions, and that was a huge thing recently. Even though it's not a fucking thing, it's the multiplayer thing, which is completely separate, and people still don't understand. But I mean, okay, I'll be a piece of shit if I'm being halfway critical of a company engaging in crunch. I feel like a lot of people thought that I was actively like shitting all over it, and a lot of people also thought that I was justifying it. But I'm like, again, I'm firmly wedged on this picket fence. It's very uncomfortable, but that's my spot for this afternoon.
That's the problem. You tread the middle ground on the internet, and you get seen by the opposite ends of the spectrum as being on the opposite side to them. It's just your perspective, right? And all the coverage that you ever do, you pretty much always give a balanced view and then put your opinion in. I can't see how people can get upset by that. Yeah, if you're a fanboy and like the thing that gets me about this guy and the thing that epitomizes and like cements the fact that he isn't a rational human being is the fact that he gets personal.
Yeah.
There's no need to get personal with people just because you disagree with them. That is the childish dick move. There's no need for that, right? You can disagree with people and still have a valid point, and they can still have a valid point. You can have an interesting discourse. You can agree to disagree. That's how adults do it, right? That's how most people with a rational brain and people who are jolly in general and who people want to cooperate in general. That's how they do it, jolly cooperation, right? Live up to your damn name, stop being such a triggered fanboy, and get the fuck off our channel.
I've never seen... This is like one of the best examples of how to bootlick, because you're directly insulting one specific person on behalf of an enormous corporation. Because, yeah, we like CD Projekt. Yeah, largely they're really, really great and the most popular company in the world. But they're still a corporation. They still have shareholders and all that sort of shit. All the dirty little old men in suits and all that crap. They're still a corporation. So you can lick their cyber boots all you like. But I'll wear the cross of being a piece of shit if it means upsetting you. That's fine by me.
I just don't get these people. I mean, we're quite welcome to have a pleasant or have a discourse. If you want to challenge us on something, if you want to challenge our opinions, by all means do that. The moment you cross that line into becoming a dick and calling us names and being personal about it, you've just lost any credibility. You're not actually an adult anymore. You're just a little pissy little shit who's crying in the corner about us having an opinion you don't agree with. That's all that is. So do yourself a favor and just stop acting like that. And that goes to everybody else.
I do
just
love it
be
when people
an adult.
I do love it when people start whining about whining, and I'm certainly guilty of this. I'm like, why are people whining? He says, while whining. And we're kind of whining about this, but there's so many comments like that. Oh, stop whining. He whined. Like, just get the fuck over it, mate.
Okay.
You said you've got another sort of spin-off for this week, haven't you?
I've got the absolute idiot of the week. I mean, yeah, I'll read it. I was
it speaks for itself.
I'm in an iron whether to read it, but Real Talk 13. This was a comment on the video we did last week, telling you about the situation to do with YouTube, how they were how the music publishers are holding me to ransom, try and get them to do some sort of deal with them, in order to license the guitar tabs that I was giving away for free, or face having the bloody everything I've ever done on YouTube just nuked. So Real Talk 13 says, ha ha ha, you're such a pussy. Can't even fight for yourself.
Oh no, forgive me. It doesn't say you're such a pussy. It's you are so pussy.
Sorry.
Because the level of English of these people is important.
You are so pussy. Can't even fight for yourself and others. Making shady deals with record execs and, hopefully, get the strikes taken off. Ha ha ha. I would say beta male, but you ain't even that. You need some courage and heart. Take the yellow brick road. What the fuck does that mean? For courage and I know what it means. I liked the vid, but boy, are you not one to be causing change. Timid little man, I feel for you. Surprised Henry hasn't tried to help you get some balls. This is bigger than your following or you and this channel.
Yeah, I haven't helped you get some balls because I am the peak of masculinity with these dangly, skinny little arms.
And what exactly does he think he's achieving by leaving a comment on the internet? He says, cause.
I don't get his point.
Change. What change is he causing?
Is he saying
his point is he wants me to stand up to the record executives. He wants me to take them to court. He wants me to potentially lose this everything I've 8 years, 10 years, 11 years of work on YouTube, including this channel. He wants this channel to be put at risk. He wants your job to be put at risk, all because and 30 grand at least of fees for me to take it to court. He wants me to put all that up just to show that I've got balls. This guy's an absolute imbecile, man. He's an absolute imbecile. I mean, I did not make any shady deals with the executives. I literally told them I'm not going to do it. I'd rather take all my content down than make a deal with you. There was no deal there, right? There was no way I was going to negotiate with them while they held all the leverage. It's just not comfortable for me. I'd rather tell them to do one. And that's how it was. I mean, again, misrepresenting the situation. I don't see that. I don't see the value in proving you're a man, that you've got balls, by risking so much of what you've been working towards over the last 10 years. Almost my life's work is at stake if my YouTube channel goes. I don't know. Maybe you don't see it that way, but I'm not risking all that. And I've got you to consider too. I've got Henry's job to consider. Got all the gaming channel fans to consider. I've got my mortgage that I've got to pay. I've got my kids to feed. I've got my family to keep. I'm not going to put all that at risk because I'm going to show some sleazy corporate man that I've got balls. What the fuck is he talking about? I mean, if I'm a pussy for that, then fine. But I'm a pussy with a conscience.
You can. I'd take being a timid little man and still keeping your library,
my livelihood,
all that. Come on. And what the fuck is this guy doing? Real Talk 13. All I do is real talk. I'm a straight talker. I'm honest. I'm brutally honest. And if you get triggered, that's your fault. He's one of these fuckwits who's just he thinks opinions are loud opinions and being obnoxious is an excuse for a personality. They kind of go you're at a party, you're having a nice time. And it's you know what I think about this? No, no one asks. Fuck off.
Yeah, do not care. And there you go. That's the kind of. It's not a triggered fanboy. It's the idiot of the week. So we've had a triggered fanboy and an idiot of the week this week. So that's an extra bonus.
There you go, double bill.
Been waiting for weeks for a podcast, and now you get extra for it. So do you have any other comments?
I only have one. Couple. None of them are particularly interesting, but that's fine. So I thought this was a really nice pairing in the YouTube kind of comment algorithm thing. I think it was on the No Man's Sky video because they've done a huge update and they've added a bunch of new shit. People, obviously, in the comments were still complaining about it. And being like, oh, why are you telling them they've done good 4 years late? Because at least they fucking done it. But this one I thought was really fun because of the pair. If my computer's going to unfreeze, there we go. Thank you very much. This is not a good day for technology. So, Davy de Assis said, totally buying this game now. Got 6 likes. Then immediately below it from Transcester, still a shit game. I just thought it's so funny because that's the two. They're the two genders. The two genders are totally buying this game now. It looks really great. I'm excited for it. And no, still shit. Still rubbish. They've done an enormous update completely for free, but it's still shit. It certainly gave me a tickle because there's a lot like that. They go both ways. Have you got another one?
I have one, and that was on yesterday's video 2, which you covered about a tattoo artist who was suing Take-Two about a basketball player's tattoo or something. Mr. Fr. Ted Crilly comments, "Greedy bitch, it's a tattoo."
I like the simple ones like that. It's not a rant. It's just greedy bitch.
Greedy bitch.
That's the thing. There are a few comments being like, no, if I design a tattoo, I own it. And we're like, well, it's a huge legal kind of grey area. You don't own the intellectual property of that design. Like my tattoos, I've got tattoos, you can see them. I own this bit of my skin. It's my body and all that. But the original drawing of it,
image,
I don't own. And I'm fine to appear on camera with them because it's not like a recreation. The tricky part, and I don't agree with this girl going out of her way to sue them, by the way. I think it's a bit far. She's technically allowed to, but it's a bit finicky. It's because an artist has had to go in and manually, put that on this CG creation. It is they are essentially recreating it. Copying it, and that's why she's got a problem.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like, come the fuck on, love. It's one tattoo on one guy in a roster of dozens.
How much money they're making off that, really? Like how much, you know what I mean? How much extra money they're making selling the game because of that tattoo?
And what money is she losing? That she's got to prove damage. She's not going to win, and if she does, it's just going to be money thrown at her. She can't prove damages because she's not losing anything. She hasn't practiced tattooing since like 2009, and 2K and WWE could very easily make a case that if they removed his tattoos or they covered them up, that would damage the brand because it's not truly representative of the man or the character that is Randy Orton. So it's a really interesting one. But yeah, greedy bitch, it's a tattoo. Your words, not mine, buddy.
It's condensing it all into...
Yeah. So I've got a
have another
selection of comments here, which are all the same sort of thing, and it's about a game called Disintegration, which launched like this year and is already having its server shut down. It's a bit of a it's a shame. I don't play the game, but it is a shame because it's so new. And these comments sum up exactly why it's happening. I have 4 in a row, all back to back, and there were loads of them. There were loads just like this. I had no idea this was out. I thought it was a next-gen game. Next one. Never even heard of Disintegration before. Next one. Never heard of Disintegration. Good job to the publishers on that. Next one. I've never heard of the game. Was it advertised anywhere? Check Steam. It was on Steam. Holy crap, someone in the advertising department dropped the ball hard, and there are loads of them like that. Like, people just didn't know what this fucking game was. I sort of tangentially knew what it was just from covering gaming news. Oh, there's a game called Disintegration. It's about robots, and it's sort of like an RTS FPS. Okay. But yeah, no one fucking knew. That's the reason it's failed, because no one played it. No one. That's it. You just need to people need to know about your game in order to play it.
That's it. Exposure is a big thing.
There you go. I do have one final one.
One more.
And I don't even know what video it's on because it's irrelevant. And I just thought it was very simple. From Kakeri01. Oh, fucking cool. Kakeri01. All it says is, I did enjoy. And I think it's probably because of, like, at the end of the video in the outro, it's like, if you enjoy the video, hit like and comment and all this, that, and the other. So maybe you should. I did enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for your comments on our YouTube channel, because it does improve the what do they call it? The
engagement.
Even
if it's abuse.
Even if it's abuse. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, everybody. So let's move on to the next segment, which is the bad dad joke of the week. All right, Henry. I'm going to get this from the Discord, because bad dad jokes on the Discord are the ones that you laugh to. You don't laugh to the ones out the tin anymore. So
they're just not funny anymore. They front-loaded it, so when you open it in the shop, you look at them like, oh yeah, these are pretty good. These ones
aren't so much like joke and punchline. They're just like to be read off. It's like, what do you call them? Not them types of jokes. They're just ones to read. So let me go the first one, and then we'll see we go from there if we need another one. As I handed my dad his 50th birthday card, he looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "You know, one would have been enough."
Yeah.
Always right. Tempering those expectations. And then the other one, which I found, where is it? I got it here. They said I couldn't be good at poetry because I'm dyslexic. So far, I've made 3 jugs and a vase, and they're lovely.
What? Right. This bot is brilliant. Poetry. Who just generates them. Pottery. I mean, anyone can contribute, but the bot that is in there now just kills me. Like this one, I've looked at before. As I put my car in reverse, I thought to myself, "This takes me back," because it's just stupid. It's stupid fun. But it's
just
great.
Play on words. They're great. They are bad dad jokes, and there you go.
Exactly.
That's met the criteria. So that is the end of the podcast this week, unfortunately. And there's nothing left to do except say goodbye to everybody, and thanks for watching and listening to our voices. So again, before we leave, if you do want to join the Patreon, head to patreon.com/prettygoodgame and you support the channel. You know that you're going to be helping us bring content in the future, as well as get early access to the podcast, and you get to ask us questions in the podcast, and you get your name read out in the podcast too. I mean, it's triple whammy. It's well worth the money. So go and check out Patreon if you want to support us. And then lastly, on behalf of Henry and I, we will see you again next week. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Yeah.